Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture. Let's bring on the host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Hello everyone, I'm Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs and the host of Vegas Rock Dog Radio. On today's show, I'm talking about the use of horses in tourist attractions. So stay right there.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Sam, I'm your host, and I'm the queen of rock and roll dogs, and this is Vegas Rock Dog Radio. We are an international rock and roll show all about pets, people, and pop culture. In studio today, I have Jim.
Hello.
And I have my two dogs, Galaxy. Oh, Galaxy looks down on us, actually, from heaven. That's where she looks down on us. Galaxy is in heaven looking down on us. And we have Miss Thornton and Mr. Twix in the studio today. So they're always good. But if you hear some jumping around, sometimes they jump on the studio desk. Sometimes they decide to have a very noisy scratch. Sometimes they bark. Just know we're a pet show.
It's not me making the extra noise.
It's not Jim. It's funny because a lot of people say you should never work with animals and children. And I say, yes, work with animals. Yes, definitely work with animals. But they're in studio with us every single week, and it's wonderful. And all we have to say to them, it's showtime. And off they run into the studio. We have another friend who Jim actually plays for, and they do the same thing because they bring their dog to the show and they say showtime, and she comes running downstairs to get in the car to go to the show. So we're not the only ones, are we, Jim?
No.
That are nuts.
Well, you're the weird one.
It's okay. I don't mind. I really don't mind at all. Well, thank you for listening into the show. If you are brand new to the show, welcome. And if you are a regular listener, which we have, I say, an international audience, we're always glad that you're here. And if you would like to connect with us in other ways on the internet, this is how you can do it. Our website is vegasrockdogradio.com, and you'll find us on Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, Instagram. And we have a blog, and the blog is the Rock and Roll Dog. I nearly choked then. I thought I swallowed a fly.
Or onion.
An onion? I almost choked on like a little gnat thing.
I think that was fresh air.
No, it wasn't, Jim.
Very dramatic.
Well, I wouldn't expect you to save me anyway.
Right.
You let me choke before in a restaurant.
Yep. And now I can never, ever eat at Red Robin because of you.
Thinking I was messing around. Thought I was messing around. I was really choking.
You weren't purple yet, so you were fine.
Thanks for that, Jim. So we have a blog, and the blog is therockandrolldog.com. That's where we do reviews, we do giveaways, we tell you who's coming on the show, and we tell you who's been on the show. We make it very easy for people to listen to the show. And we do have an app, and it's free, and you will go to yapp.us, yapp.us. It's completely free. Download the app, and then download Vegas Rock Dog Radio onto your app. You'll be the first in the know when new things happen around here. Now, if you do miss the live show, which would be really sad, because we love it when people listen in live, you can find us on iTunes, iHeart Radio, SiriusXM, Spreaker, Podbean, you name it, you will find us quite easily. If you're a person that has an Amazon Alexa, you'll find us there. If you use Sonos, you'll find us on there also. It's very easy to find us. And if you don't remember any of these things, don't worry about it, because we always put these in the show notes. And then, all you can do really is, it's really easy. Just go to the internet, just search Vegas Rock Dog Radio. We'll pop up. You'll find us quite easily. So I think that's all that stuff out of the way. I do have a little bit of news that I was not very happy about today. Not happy about at all. We, almost 2 years ago here in Vegas, had proposed a bill to ban pet store sales of pets, of animals,
Of puppy mill animals.
Well, because they are supplied by them, and it's an animal welfare issue. This is an animal welfare issue. And it passed, and it was about to go into effect 2018, and today, well, it wasn't just today. Today's when they actually voted on it, because they wanted to repeal it. And it was...
Who's got friends in the animal selling business on the local councils?
Well, I can't think of one good reason, in all honesty, not one good reason to say, yay, we need to sell pets in pet stores, because we know where they come from. And you only have to look, and here's the awful thing. Animals get hurt, people get hurt by it, because if you read the reviews of these pet stores, you'll see, I got my dog home, it was sick, it died, it's cost me thousands of dollars, I now have ongoing health issues with this dog. And it's not isolated, it's all over the country. And so it's an animal welfare issue. The level of frustration I have today is unbelievable, because we've done a lot of work collectively in this community, from rescues to advocacy groups, you name it, we've done it, to educate the councilmen that were going to be voting on this. I personally sent over links to Harley's Hope. They're a big advocacy group for preventing these puppy mills from, being in business and doing this to animals. I'd sent them over links, of stories about, I'm not going to even say their name because I'm not going to give them any publicity, but we all know the big puppy selling business begins with a B and ends with a D. I'm not giving them any publicity whatsoever, but it's well documented where the animals come from. It's well documented that they're not treated well at all. And so to send it all this information and meeting with people and to find, and it was obvious. It was so obvious. I couldn't go down there today to watch it, but I watched it live. It was so obvious. Nobody that voted for this to be repealed, nobody did any homework whatsoever, because there's no way you could watch some of those videos on puppy mills and make the connection, in a lot of these videos where the puppies end up, which is in pet stores, and then still vote for that. I cannot, unless you're dead inside, I don't know, but you just cannot. It was infuriating. It's infuriating when you provided so much information. They need to do due diligence when it comes to these bills, because animals suffer and people suffer because of it. So, not very happy today. So, let me give you a little bit of a heads up. These are the people that voted on the repeal. And so, therefore, when it comes to voting for them, you might want to vote them out. And that is Fiore, Barlow, Soroka, and Goodman. And that happens to be our mayor, unfortunately. And the people you can vote back in are Anthony, Coffin, and Tarkanian. So there you go. There were the 7 people that voted on it. It stuns me time and time again. Here in Vegas, we're horrible with animal advocacy, with people in these positions. You hope for the best, but we've had so many terrible letdowns that you just think, gosh, there's just nobody that really, really cares about these issues in those positions, and that's what really upsets me. The ignorance is beyond as well. I mean, one of them...
I'm surprised the mayor voted for it.
I know.
It's kind of unlike her, because she's very much into child welfare. She comes from an education
she has
background.
Dogs and...
Very surprised.
You know the position they came from.
Not by Fiore, because she's just that way. She just doesn't deserve to be in office.
Well, here's the thing: they were trying to do this from the perspective saying, "Oh, you've singled out these pet stores, and you don't want them to be in business. You're going to affect these businesses." But the bill was for them to convert. They had to convert by 2018 to the rescue model. And trust me, they would have been very successful because it happened here in town before and they voluntarily did it. And the community hammered them and said, you just can't be doing this and selling it for thousands and they're sick, and it's bad. And over time and people meeting them, they changed the model to the rescue model. And you know what the animal community did? They got right behind them. I remember being there. I think you were with me maybe as well, Jim. We went to support them and said, thank you. Thank you for going to this model. And they were successful. There's no reason why they wouldn't be successful. And think about it. It's a better alternative, actually, than sometimes walking into your shelters. The shelters are really upsetting. They are very upsetting. So a lot of people are deterred and they don't go down there at all. This would be a different location, and I think it would have done very, very well. It's been successful elsewhere, so I'm very, very disappointed in that. But we will still continue. There's nothing to say that we can't put that back in again and maybe change some terms or whatever it is that we need to change. But here's the thing. I'm just annoyed at the fact that they hadn't done the homework that was presented to them, and they didn't do the will of the people. They did their own will. That's what they did. What they felt. I mean, Fiore, she said she didn't want other people to go through what she went through, having to travel to Colorado to a breeder to get the breed that she wanted. And that's a load of garbage because the breed she wanted, we have a breed-specific rescue for that breed. So it was just garbage. And
she was being a snob.
And it's interesting. It's interesting because I'd be so curious to know the breeder she went to. I would be so curious because I can guarantee you this much. If she didn't read any of this information that we sent out for this bill, she probably didn't really read up about that breeder either. So that's where we are. But, it's a real punch in the gut for everybody that worked super hard on this, super, super hard. I did not get to see the public comments. They didn't show those. And I thought that's very, very strange, very odd. So I don't know what happened there. But we will continue with this because we can't go backwards. We cannot go backwards. And this is a step backwards. It's just, wow. How hard is it to love an animal? How hard is it to do the right thing? It's not difficult at all. Unless you just cannot stand animals. But I do believe there's a lot more to this story. I did say a couple of weeks ago that the AKC, I was reading, have been fighting these types of bills all over the country because they certify the puppy mill. Someone has to certify these puppy mill dogs to say that they're full bred. So there's a lot more to that. I'm doing a lot more research on that, and we'll see where we go. The one thing they did say today was, and again, it's back to the ignorance thing. They said, "Oh well, we're just glad to know we don't have any puppy mills in Nevada." I'm like, "Yes, but they're not getting them, in the city."
They are. They're one county over.
well, yes, Pahrump. I can guarantee you, they're getting some from there. If not, Missouri, the puppy mill capital of the world. But yeah, they said, "Oh well, if we can prove." They've told us that they don't get them from puppy mills. As they said, if we can prove that they do, then they will shut them down. So I got hold of, a couple of people today to say if you can let me know who supplies the pet stores in Nevada. So there you go. That's my update on that. There'll be more to come. I am sure of that. So this actually turned out very, very well this week. I've been following a group called S.A.V.E. for quite some time because they're doing advocacy work out the Grand Canyon way, which is essentially in our backyard as well. And I've been following them for a long time and sharing their information. And finally, we've managed to get Sue from the actual organization to come on to the show. So my guest today is Sue, and she's the co-founder of S.A.V.E. It stands for Stop Animal Violence. They are a compassionate and dedicated group of volunteers, and they are advocating for the welfare of pack horses, mules, and donkeys on the Havasupai, and I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, reservation in the Grand Canyon. Now, the Grand Canyon is a stunning, beautiful place, but it has a very ugly secret that's been going on for decades. I mean, decades. And we're going to further expose what that is today on the show so that we can get this out in the open and get people to understand what's going on and see if we can make a big change. So welcome to the show, Sue.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled we're connected. I always kind of hold my breath when we do these kind of calls because we do a lot of international ones as well. It's like, oh, yay, they're connected. So I'm so thrilled that you've come on the show today. As I say, I've followed you for quite some time, and I'm really happy that we get to talk about your cause and what it is, what we can do about it, and what the end goal is. Now, I do know that you're a fairly newly formed organization, and I want to ask you, what was the catalyst that made you start S.A.V.E? How did this all come about for you?
Well, it's not a particularly long story. It really was a culmination of 14 years of living in Flagstaff and hearing endless stories from a variety of different people who either had recently been down in Havasu or can still remember being down in Havasu as many as 25 years ago and seeing the condition of the animals and being absolutely horrified, and then saying, but there's nothing we can do about it because it's reservation land.
I see. So,
and I just I just reached the point of no return, I guess. I heard,
yeah.
I'd heard a few stories that were a little bit closer to home towards the end of 2015. And I just said, I'm sorry, this is just not acceptable. And there has to be something that can be done. And so I really started from nowhere with nothing, but was determined that the word had to get out because this has been one of the ugliest, most disgusting open secrets in this part of the world, in Grand Canyon, for at least 40 years now.
That's shocking to me. I mean, 40 years, and it finally took you. Like you say, you got to the end of your tether and you said, no more. Something can be done. It's not acceptable. How people have accepted it is beyond. I can understand why people, because I work in animal advocacy myself, and you heard me ranting on about today's vote, which was a nightmare. It does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of dedication. It is, I feel, for the most part, an all-time consuming, stressful thing. But I think when you really care about animals and you see such injustices, you can't sit by. And as you said, you have living there for so long. These stories they're not tales. You're like, there's a lot coming up. There has to be a lot of truth in this. And so I can understand sometimes you just get to your point and you go, that's it. What are we doing about it? And to start that from scratch it's a massive undertaking. It really, really is. But I feel in the short time that you've been around that you've made some big strides. Don't you feel the same way?
We do, and thank you for saying that. We certainly appreciate it because you're right. Working for the benefit of animals to stop their suffering shouldn't be so difficult, but it is. And
you're right. You're so right. It should not be difficult. Caring about people and animals should not be difficult. Doing the right thing should not be difficult.
Right. It shouldn't. It really, especially when in reality, in most situations, doing the right thing by animals is actually easier.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And that is certainly the case here because there are many, many models around the country where packed animals are used in a similar manner, and the animals are very well taken care of and well trained. So it's not like, this is some major undertaking that nobody knows how to accomplish. But yes, we have done a lot. And part of the reason, and this is part of what I would very much like to get out to your listeners today, part of the reason we've been successful is because we are the only group that has been willing to publicly criticize the tribe.
Right.
Nobody else who goes in there criticizes the tribe because the tribe basically tells anybody who wants to go in there to help that they can't. And that if they do criticize anything that they're doing down there, then they're going to get booted out.
You see, I'm
so
sure that's quite scary too, though. there's got to be a level of fear as well associated with that. I mean, because you're going up against the tribe, aren't you? You know, they've been doing that forever. This is what they do. And when it threatens their money, people can act in some very weird ways too.
Well, except that most of the organizations that have gone in there have really just gone in to try to, quote unquote, help by offering free goods and services, which the tribe is more than willing to accept.
Oh, yeah.
But then the second you want to talk to them about any of their practices, i.e. criticize them, that's when they want to boot you out. When I first started this, I tried to reach out, as everybody else has in the past, to talk about it, to talk to the tribal chair, to see if there was a way to begin a dialogue about this. And I was just basically ignored. And so I did a lot of research and discovered that this is kind of the way they do business, and that anybody who wants to go in there to help or do anything else, they just have to be silent. It's kind of like a gag order almost.
Gosh. That's just gosh, it's all on their terms, isn't it, at that point?
Well, yeah. So I said, well, sorry, I'm not playing that game. And so we started a website and we started a Facebook page, and we started asking tourists to please contact us if they saw anything, to take pictures, to write out eyewitness accounts, to make formal complaints to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We've been educating people on what to do and how to do it. And we have gotten quite a long, it's really upsetting, but we're not talking about a few cases. We're talking about hundreds of cases and hundreds of photographs.
It's shocking to me. And I think for anyone that's listening that's not familiar with the Grand Canyon, you probably all know the Grand Canyon, but you may not have been to the Grand Canyon. What happens is tourists go down there, they want to go in the bottom, and what they do is they load up these horses, mules, or donkeys. I mean, overload them. So this is part of tourism. This is part of tourism. We're using animals, and these treks happen all day, don't they? I mean, how many outfitters are out there, would you say, running this kind of operation? Is it the tribe that's over kind of all of it, with like permission for these companies to do these kind of treks?
Yes, they have to get permission from the tribe to run their operations, and they pay a fee to do so. But you know, there are two entities to be aware of. One is the tribe itself, that has wranglers that own these horses, and tourists can call the tourist office for the Havasupai tribe and reserve on their own pack animals to take their gear up and down the trail. Or they can go through a third-party outfitter and do it that way. But either way, abused animals are being used, and every time. At some point, you're using an abused animal when you reserve the pack animals to take your gear in or out. Period.
Now, I would
people who call up these outfitters and ask about the pack animals out of concern, because more and more people are now finding out about this thanks to what we're doing and how you're helping us do it. They get misled.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, especially for people in Las Vegas, because as you said, you know, the Grand Canyon is pretty much in your backyard, and a lot of tourists come from Vegas to the Havasupai Reservation. Do not use the pack animals, period, no matter what anybody has told you about how they don't use abused animals. It is not accurate. And we have caught many of these outfitters in the act with abused animals. So don't use the pack animals. If you want to go down to Havasu Falls, fine. But that means either carry your own gear or let the helicopter carry it or don't go.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Here's the thing. You are, unless you're an absolute idiot and you choose to still do it, you're going to see that. You are going to see horses that are not well, underweight, injured, not been treated for all manner of medical issues. I looked at their hoofs. I saw pictures of their hoofs that were just overgrown. I can only imagine showing up and seeing that. I mean, there's got to be a ton of stories where people say, "Oh my gosh, I can't be a part of this. I can't possibly."
Sue, do you remember?
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you remember? I remember vividly growing up. Sam won't understand this because she's not from here, but the Brady Bunch had a special multi-part episode when the family went on vacation and they went to the Grand Canyon and they packed mules down into the base of the Grand Canyon. And we grew up as kids exposed to that. We loved the Brady Bunch. We thought, well, that's okay. Look at that. I mean, how many generations of people would remember that? I remember that from childhood because even, the episode, even Jay Silverhill, who played Tonto in The Lone Ranger, was played one of the tribal leaders in those that multi-part series. I don't know if you remember that from years ago.
No, I don't. But you're right. It's kind of iconic for the Grand Canyon, and I think it's also important to mention that there is a concession that runs from the South Rim down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon at a place called Phantom Ranch and back up again. That is in the national park, and they use mules to take people's gear up and down, and occasionally will actually take a person as well. Ugh. But those animals are very well cared for.
Right.
Those animals get rest, they get adequate food, they get an adequate amount of water.
Yeah.
They are very strict about the weight limits that they must stay within.
Right.
And they are very clear about the fact that these animals must be trained to do the job.
Yes.
That's a very different
situation.
Right,
there's a model right there.
About. Right, that's the model, and I've said that over and over and over again. But what the Havasupai do is so completely opposite of that. They starve these animals. They deny them access to water after they have been forced to gallop up almost 9-mile trail.
Oh, my Lord.
Sometimes in temperatures exceeding 100 degrees.
Yeah.
And then they won't give them any water.
Oh. Like you say, it's easier to actually just look after them. Even minimal care would be better than what they're doing right now. I think what people get confused with all the time is, like today with this bill that we've had in Vegas, and this is about animal welfare, but everyone else looked at it as, oh, you're trying to put people out of business. No, that's not what we were trying to do. But they miss the whole point of animal welfare, and I'm sure you probably get some of that too. Oh, you're just trying to put people out of business, So
sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're all right.
Of course, we get that too. But I'll tell you, I'm perfectly comfortable saying, even if I were trying to put them out of business, which I'm not. You're right. I just want them to do it the right way, which is not difficult. But even if I were trying to put them out of business, I would say with the kind of suffering and inhumane treatment that they impose on those animals, maybe they shouldn't be in business.
Yes.
I mean, at some point, there has to be a moral compass and some ethics involved in what people do. It can't just be about, oh, you want to put them out of business. They're kicking horses. They're kicking horses' eyes out. They kick them when they collapse on the trail because of dehydration and starvation, and then if they don't get up, they either shove them over the side of the cliff.
Oh my gosh!
Or they leave them there to get eaten alive by feral dogs. That's how bad this situation is. So I'm not too concerned when people want to criticize me for saying, oh, you just want to put them out of business.
I wouldn't.
If that's how they're going to operate, and they don't want to do it any better, then maybe they shouldn't be in business.
I agree with you 100%. You're my kind of person, Sue. You were really, I take no prisoners whatsoever. We were just reading this week, Nosy the elephant finally got out of that horrific circus. But did you know that the Libel family had 200 cruelty citations against them? 200. So this is my point, and I think this dovetails into what we're talking about is, at what point do we say you can't be in business? Yeah, because 200 citations, are you kidding me? And they're still in business in that circus? That blew my mind. And so it's a very big picture, isn't it, Sue? It's a very, very big picture because now
Yes, it is.
who oversees this? Do we have adequate oversight with this? And we say, for me, it would be 1 strike, you're out. That would be me, but, is it 3 strikes, you're out? Does it escalate? Does it not escalate? Does it end up being 200 citations? And you go, wow, are you kidding me? It is a very, very big picture, but I think what you're doing right now is, well, like you say, you're the first to really say, you know what, we've tried the nicey approach and the let's meet with you and chat with you and educate you, and that's not working. Well, you know what, now we just get to call you out, and that's what we're going to do. And I am all for that. That's kind of my style as well. So I think you're absolutely on the right path. But what I want to do is just hold for 1 second, because what we're going to do, because we've got so much more to talk about, I'm going to run a couple of commercials because I still have a lot more questions of how do we, who's the veterinarian? How do we get involved? What changes can we personally make and basically help these animals out there? So hang on in there. We'll do a couple of commercials and we'll be right back. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Pet Scene Magazine is dedicated to Las Vegas pets and the people who love them. It's a source of news and information for pet lovers, as well as offering valuable coupons and specials on pet products and services. Find them online at www.lvpetscene.com or look for them on Facebook.
At Carl's Jr., not only do we make you happy with our delicious charbroil burgers, we also make your dogs happy. Come through our drive-thru with your furry friends and we'll offer them a treat. We love to see their smiling faces. Our website, carlsjroflasvegas.com, has a treat in store for its customers too, with free coupons anytime, so visit us often. Carl's Jr. is a proud and active supporter of animal adoption in our community. You can find us at carlsjroflasvegas.com.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host. My guest today is Sue Ash of S.A.V.E., and that stands for Stop Animal Violence, and she is focusing, and the first group to actually focus on the horses, the mules, and the donkeys that are used at Havasupai Reservation, Grand Canyon tours down into the bottom and coming back. We have extreme temperatures out here. Extreme temperatures. This is a 8-9 mile down and back up kind of trek, and these horses are just not getting the rest, the food, the care that they deserve. So this is why we've got Sue on the show today. We want to get this out there, make sure people know this is happening, because I think anyone with a conscience that really loves animals would never want to partake in that if they knew what was going on. So you still with us, Sue?
I am.
Super. So what I was saying was, what I want to know is how many animals do you estimate are working the Grand Canyon right now? Do you know?
Well, it's hard to get an exact number because the Havasupai rotate animals that are, well, I shouldn't say rotate, that they die. They don't live very long. New ones are brought in, and animals that are in the worst shape are frequently hidden sometimes from view so that tourists can't take pictures. But we estimate somewhere in the neighborhood of 250.
Oh my gosh, it's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a lot of horses suffering, and it's unacceptable, like you said. Who's their veterinarian? Do they have a veterinarian?
They do not. They do not.
Good grief! So, has any veterinarian tried to go out there?
Yeah, oh yes, many have gone down there and tried, and they wind up helping an individual animal, but it's really a very temporary sort of thing because, if you patch up an animal that's been beaten and starved and so forth so that they can continue to work, it, it's still kind of inevitable that they're going to die. You're just getting maybe another month or 2 or 6 months worth of work out of them.
Well,
so you have to wonder, is that really the right thing to do? And we got a front page article in the Arizona Republic last summer on this issue, and the author of the article was a reporter by the name of Amy Wang, who is no longer with them, but she interviewed a veterinarian about this very thing. And interestingly, this person said, you cannot use my name because I will be retaliated against.
Oh, gosh. You can't have that, can you? That's terrible.
Right.
Oh,
so,
my gosh.
organizations go in there, veterinarians go in there, lots of people go in there, but then they can't, or they think they can't talk about what they see because they'll be retaliated against or they'll be banned, which I have been and my organization has been because we're criticizing the tribe. And that's fine. We don't really care.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not about us.
Well, and I don't care to go down there. I don't want to go down there. I don't want to see the trail of blood that's left by the animals up and down the trail. I don't want to see starving animals knocking over garbage cans looking for anything that they might be able to eat.
It's just wrong.
Sounds like they need somebody from within the tribe to make those changes, the younger generation.
I don't know that.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not going to work. I have to tell you, and I'm glad you raised that point because that's part of what a lot of people think. And ultimately, that may be the solution. But that kind of education and shift in cultural attitudes is probably decades away, and we don't have decades.
You don't have time.
Horses.
That's right.
The only thing that's going to make a difference, in my opinion, is exactly what S.A.V.E. is doing, which is continuing to expose this, bringing as much pressure to bear based on the fact that we continue to get these horrible photos and eyewitness accounts, and more people find out about it and complain. And we call on tourists to stop using the animals and, if nothing else, stop going to that place so that they begin to feel the pressure.
Yeah, the pain. Yeah.
That's right. And ultimately decide whether they want to or not. They're going to have to start taking better care of these animals. And then over time, perhaps that kind of cultural shift that you're talking about can occur. But, I've had several people come back from trips down there not knowing any of this, and they're absolutely appalled, not just by the condition of the animals, but the way they are treated, even by children. They have been spit upon, they have been sworn at, and I mean, there are just examples after examples of these kinds of things happening. Women who have been fearful for their safety when they're down there or hiking down there. So there's not a lot of motivation
that sounds that way.
Produce. Now, having said all that, I also want to say, there are some Havasupai people down there who do not like what is going on down there. They do not like what they see. And there are some Havasupai who take care of their animals. We are not painting the whole tribe with a broad brush.
Right.
But there are enough of them that are doing these sorts of things. And again, everybody's looking the other way. It's kind of like nosy and getting 200 citations.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, enough is enough. And the outfitters, the third-party outfitters are complicit. And I'll tell you who else is complicit in this is travel writers.
Oh, gosh, yes. I never thought about that, Sue, but you're right.
Yes, we look all the time online for articles written by travel writers recommending places to go. And if we see Havasupai on there, we read the article and see if they say anything about the animals.
Yeah.
And if they say, and you can rent pack animals, or they recommend using the pack animals, we tell everybody to write that person and say, you have not done your homework.
Yes.
You should not be doing that. If for no other reason than the fact that they owe their readers the truth.
The honesty. You've got to be transparent. It's like me, Sue. When I do product reviews, I do not lie. I tell the truth. Sometimes they don't like it. I'm like, hey, you know what? You sent me the product. I have a responsibility to be honest about what I am telling you about a product or a service. I agree. There has to be some integrity. Although they, like you say, they are complicit. I bet you anything there's people that write that have never even been to any of these places as well, and they still recommend it. I can guarantee it because I see it all the time. I write myself, so I see it on blogs, and I go, really? You're really saying that's a great dog food when we know that it's not a good dog food? You know, you should know better than that, and you're still doing it because you got paid. I can't take it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but the other piece to that is that when they do that, they are really doing a disservice to their readers because there are many people who go down there then without knowing any of this, and they see these things and they literally come out traumatized, crying, horrified. It's just not a very ethical way to write an article about a place without letting people know that the animals are abused.
The truth. I've seen a big push now from England because a lot of British people like to go out to Thailand. So going riding elephants, that kind of thing, and selfies with tigers that are drugged up and that kind of thing. And I'm starting to see a shift back home, which is very, very good. I just think it's one of the things where you just have to keep on it all the time, and it's exhausting. It's really exhausting, but that you keep on it, and slowly those changes start to happen. Look at SeaWorld, for example. Brilliant.
Right.
Same thing. Right. You got to know. You said, I can't be a part of that. I can't fund that by buying a ticket. And it's that same model, isn't it? Of we educate you. And now you've got to do better than that. And there are alternative ways. There's no reason to be on an animal to go and do that. Like you say, the helicopter, hello, it's easy. Or hike yourself up and down there. It's there are alternatives. And
it's responsible tourism.
It is.
And I really, I think that more and more people need to understand that they need to practice responsible tourism. It's not good enough to just say, well, I didn't notice.
Well, I'm not sure how you do not notice. I mean, tigers are not floppy, and want to take photos with human beings. There's absolutely no reason for people to even be touching tigers. I think there's this whole... I think people ask the question because sometimes we're just so accepting of things without questioning, but I never accept anything without questioning. But I think if you ask the question, what's the benefit to the animal for me to do this with them? And I can guarantee you they can't come up with one reason that there's a benefit for the animal. There's no benefit to be trekking up and down with
completely.
weight. I think if you ask that question, you go, oh, yeah, there's no benefit to them. Why am I doing this? It's exploiting. I cannot stand myself animals that are used in entertainment. I just cannot take it for animals for profit. And this is the same kind of thing. It's not necessary. There are alternatives. Now, I do have a question for you. Has anyone ever tried to rescue the horses? Would the tribe ever be open to, yes, you can take this horse, or is that...
Yes.
Yeah.
The answer is yes, and actually, S.A.V.E. has done several of those.
Oh, that's great to hear.
But it's a bit tricky in that they have to be relinquished by the tribe. However, I can tell you also that S.A.V.E. was involved in the first known federal case brought against a tribal member for animal abuse. That's kind of how we got started, made a big splash.
So that was the first in the history of this abuse that this has happened, yeah?
Correct, yes.
Wow.
There was a fellow by the name of Leland Joe who was arrested, and his 4 horses were seized and brought up by federal authorities to the top. I was up there waiting, and waiting all day, actually. They didn't get up until it was almost dark. But it was still light enough to see the condition of those horses. And it was one of the most horrifying sights I've ever seen. two of the horses, their backs, their spines, were completely exposed to the bone.
Oh gosh, I
Yeah.
mean that's just. Am I incorrect in thinking that Native Indians actually revered animals? Am I incorrect in this? Because it always seems to come across that they love animals, and there's it's all about worshiping them and valuing them. Am I way off base, or is this kind of like a fictional thing that you see on TV? What is that?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of both, but I would say it's mostly fictional.
Wow.
Like any other group of people, there are those who revere animals and see them as a very, very spiritual part of their own lives and of the life of this planet. But then there are those who do the kinds of things that these Havasupai wranglers are doing to their horses. So, but it's a myth to think that all Native Americans feel that way, because they don't.
Wow. So it's certainly not a widespread cultural thing. I guess it's pretty much like anybody. You get people that love animals and those that don't. And they're walking around amongst us, It is exhausting, though. I think animal advocacy is very exhausting. We're a big part of that as well. And there are days like today when you go, oh, that's a punch in the gut for that. But I think with this first case coming forward, now what's the update on that? Because that was back in May 2016. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually April of 2016. Yeah. So his horses were permanently taken away from him, and he was put on probation by the federal government for 3 years, and he was forbidden from working with animals, horses, owning them, or having anything to do with them.
That's really
so. It was an important landmark decision in that it had never been done before, and I think that it sent an important message to the tribe, but also I hope to other people who are still thinking the tribe, or any tribe for that matter, is a sovereign nation,
right,
and that we have no recourse. It's complicated,
for
sure.
I was going to ask you about the laws and the jurisdiction. You've got a sovereign nation, and then how do the laws overlap? Are they protected on a certain level? How it obviously impedes a lot of progress. So how do the laws work?
Well, I'd probably have to be an attorney to really give you a full answer, and I'm not. But I do know that it is a patchwork of laws, and laws from states, and I'm not sure actually if it's also county or if it's just state, but they get incorporated into the prosecution when it's done. And sovereign nation it's an interesting concept, because if you read about the agreement between the federal government and these Native American tribes, it's not as cut and dried as everybody thinks it is. Congress actually has the ability to intercede. Of course, but that very rarely happens. But the federal government does too when tribal authorities do not act.
I see.
So when they don't do anything, and they've been given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, then the federal government can come in and make the case. And that's what happened with Leland Joe. Mm-hmm. Because those horses were in plain view and being horribly brutalized and starved for years, and the tribe did nothing.
Yeah,
and the tribe has done nothing for 40 years. If the truth be
told,
But it's only really been since S.A.V.E. came along and started exposing all this that the pressure started to ramp up, and we intend to continue to ramp it up further.
I have a question for you. Have you ever reached out to any other organizations like the Animal Legal Defense Fund in California?
Yes. Yes.
Did you get any kind of, direction from them, or could they get involved? How, because and
Well,
they do a
we're
lot,
still,
which is
yeah,
great.
we're still talking to them about
Super.
possibilities. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I had Steve on from ALDF, and I love the work that they do. I mean, they started at a time that I'm sure people thought it was the craziest thing ever, animal welfare and representing animals all those years ago. Because back then, people were just just wasn't on the radar. And so, I look at them now and I think, well, and they've had time to grow into this incredible organization and making a great difference. So I'm really glad that you've got a relationship going with them, because they're powerful. I mean, I feel like we could have, with what happened in Vegas today, we literally found out, I think it was like a week ago, 10 days ago, that they were going to try and repeal the ban. And again, I think it was placed that way because it was so close to the ban going into place, and it didn't give people any time. And I was like, man, if we'd have had time, we could have, reached out to ALDF or some other organizations like, can you come in and help us with this? But we feel it was done to blindside everybody, and so they wouldn't have much time. But I think ALDF do a phenomenal job. I mean, a phenomenal job, and have great successes too. And I think it's great that you have that relationship. Well, I still have a couple more questions for you if you have time. I need to run a couple more commercials, so just hang on in there. I mean,
okay.
I did my homework. I tell you, I always do my homework. But what I like about the way that we do our interviews, we could do a 5-minute interview, but we won't get in depth about anything. And I want people to fully understand what's going on and how you're helping and how they can help. So hang on in there. We're going to run a couple of commercials. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host, the queen of rock and roll dogs.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Welcome to Barking Dog Self-Wash and Grooming, your one-stop shop for all your pets' needs. We offer premium natural pet foods, full-service grooming, and an on-site bakery and boutique. You can choose to self-wash your dog or schedule a luxury pampering with our professional groomers. Visit our Cool Cat section offering feline food, toys, bedding, and litter, while the adventurous dog department has everything you need for your outdoor activities. And don't forget Cody's Healing Garden, featuring flower, aromatherapy, and herbal remedies for pets. Find us at www.barkingdogslv.com, and we look forward to seeing you in our neighborhood.
Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio with me, Sam, your host, the queen of rock and roll dogs, and I've got Sue Ash with me of S.A.V.E. And Sue's the first group to actually speak up about the abuse that's going on at Havasupai in Arizona at the Grand Canyon, and what's happening with these horses, these mules, and these donkeys. Now, my next question for you, Sue, is what kind of campaigns have you had going on? What campaigns have you had in the past? What's going on right now? What do you find is the most effective for you right now as far as campaigns and getting the word out, or bringing donations in order to continue the work?
Well, we're not a 501c3, so we're not going for donations. And I kind of like it that way because we're not interested in collecting money. Now, would it come in handy in certain situations? Yes, it probably would.
Right.
But we are purely an advocacy group. We want this to stop, and we're going to do whatever it takes. Probably social media has been the very best thing, and media coverage. Those are the two things. We're looking to get more people aware of this situation and reaching out to anybody and everybody they know, whether it's word of mouth or through their own social media connections, to tell them about this situation and tell them under no circumstances, if you're going to go there, use the pack animals. And we're asking them to complain to the Bureau of Indian Affairs and to the tribe, and to call these outfitters and say, what are you doing here? You keep saying that you're not using abused animals, but you are.
Yeah.
Why don't you grow a moral compass.
Yeah, how about that? What a concept! I would love to see. I was so glad you got your billboard. How did that billboard impact? Because I thought this is brilliant.
Well, that's probably the one place where it would be nice to have more money because billboards are expensive. I
Oh,
found
yeah.
out.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they really are. But we do have the one up, or actually it's two, and it's in Kingman, and because there are a lot of people that come through Vegas actually through Kingman
that's right.
to get to Hilltop. So I think that it's hard to get feedback on that, but I do think that enough people are seeing that it's making an impact.
Yeah.
But shows like yours make a big impact. And then we had a release that we just put out, and I believe the post goes live tonight, about Equus contacting me, and they're running a film festival this week in New York. They run it every year, and it's everything about horses. And we have put together, I don't even know what you'd call it, a short film, I guess, explaining the situation that's happening here with the pack animals. And everybody there is going to see it, and then it's going on social media, and then it goes global because they take it all over the world.
Gosh, you couldn't wish for anything better, really, could you? I mean, that's going to make such an impact worldwide.
I certainly hope so, because we also get a lot of visitors from overseas,
and
it's harder to reach them. So something like this hopefully will reach some of those people. But we have followers in other parts of the world.
Well, I have a friend who started a little bit like a destinations management type company. Yeah, he's British also, here in Vegas, and he's just started it. But I'm actually going to check what he's offering, and if they are offering that, I'm going to talk to him. And, if he was thinking of offering it, I'm going to talk him out of it as well. The comment he left me was, message he left me was, I need someone like you in my life, in my business. And I'm like, well, I'll contact you about this, but I'm going to check, and I'm going to reach out as well. As you know, we have a very, very large social media presence. We're probably at, just through social media alone, I think we're at something like 65,000, social media profiles that follow us on all platforms. And this is how I found that the show works. In fact, I'd love to see you guys on even more platforms, because we're on everything. There's no way anyone can miss us, because we've just put ourselves on everything, and we've figured out a way to do it in a very streamlined kind of way. And I can send that to you, Sue, if you decide
That'd be great.
If you want to add some more, some more platforms on there. But social media has been so incredibly valuable. And of course, that's how I found out about you. And then look how close I am to you guys. I'm like, why have I not heard about this? This makes no sense to me. But I do know you had, who was it who came out? The reporter from Vegas. What's his name?
George Knapp.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that's fantastic that he came out to do that. And it was all over our news in the local papers as well. And I just think, like you say, the more we put it out on social media, and this film festival, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I don't think you could wish for anything better, to come out of all the work that you've been doing. But I did like about your website, because we're talking about how do we be responsible? How do you even know, what to look for? But you have all of that on the website itself. You show people, how to be responsible when they, come out there, alternatives to using pack animals. You got a checklist. You tell people, share our campaigns, report what's going on. All of that, it collectively will make a big, big impact. As I say, I'm seeing it with Thailand and riding elephants and selfies with tigers. And I think sometimes, I just think if you're not in animal welfare advocacy, you might be an animal lover, but you might not know what the heck you're looking for.
Right.
And I've had people say, when I've seen a dog that's got all its ribs showing, and then someone will say, oh, that dog's not underweight. And what? What's wrong with you? You don't recognize this? This is very weird to me. Right now I'm working on a show about I'm not going to say the name of it, but I'm doing air quotes, sanctuary. Yeah. Tiger, jaguar, lion sanctuary. that's not a sanctuary, but a lot of people are believing it is. And I'm going to do a similar type show where we say, here's what we're looking at, and take a look at this video, and you see that, and you see that, and you see that. Yeah, that's called not being a sanctuary and abuse. So gosh, this sanctuary has millions of followers. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. But sometimes we have to spell it out, don't we, Sue? We have to spell it out to people. And so let me explain this to you. This is not right. This is a healthy animal. This is an unhealthy animal. Yeah, and to get people to see those things, like, you see that tiger? It has no claws.
Right.
What do you think happened to its claws? Let's explain that to you. But I think I read everything on your website entirely anyway, and I follow you. So I felt like everything was just so comprehensive. It's a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer. Now you know about it. Just don't do it, but spread the word and tell everyone, not to get involved in it. It's got to be a massive moneymaker, though. And when people feel like their money's threatened, they'll double down and even, continue saying that there's no abuse because they still want that money rolling in. It's got to be a massive operation. Is that
the problem for the tribe in doing that, though, is their business that's making them so much money is dependent on tourists.
Yes.
And all these tourists come in with cameras on their phone.
Yeah, they're almost like they want your money, but you're almost like the enemy when you figure out what's going on and you can report it.
Right. So they can't stop, they being the tribe, they cannot stop the flow of information that's coming out. And now more and more people know where to go with that information, and that's to us.
Yeah. So. Oh, I say I really. I love it when you hit these strides and you go, now we're making a difference. Oh my gosh, we actually got the first abuse case like in history. I mean, that is a massive milestone. Obviously a big energy booster. You say, keep going. We're on the right path here, and trying to get more and more people involved. We'll try and do as much as we can on our end, simply because we're stuck right in the middle of Vegas. And so
thank you.
And I can't tell you how many people reach out to me and say, Sam, what should I do in Vegas? So I always give them a big list, but I also should tell them, and this is what you're not going to do when you come to Vegas. Otherwise we'll never be friends ever again. that will get you dumped as a friend, I tell you. I know your Facebook
right.
I know your Facebook page is Havasupai Horses, and your website is havasupaihorses.org. These will all this information is going to go online on our page. We'll be tagging you as well. We'll continue to share everything that you're doing, and we'll try and support you as much as we can on this end. I think we can make somewhat of a difference with our connections, most definitely. But it's been you've been on my list for a while to actually have you on the show, so I'm so glad it all worked out.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the opportunity and the help.
And
because it makes a difference. Yes,
it does, because I've seen it, I've witnessed it, and I've been a part of it, and I know it does. And like you said, that doesn't cost any money to share that information, does it? It costs you nothing. But any updates that you have, make sure you just email them to me, because we'd love to update people that listen to the show, so they can, follow along and know the progress that you guys are making. And
definitely we'll do that.
Oh, it's been really great. I'm so glad you took the time out. I know it was a long hour.
No, it actually went by very fast. It's very. Yeah, it was very nice to be able to talk to you. I appreciate it.
Well, we will definitely be having you back on the show again, no doubt, and I'm sure there'll be even more progress when we do that. So I want to say a big thank you to you, Sue, and hopefully one of these days we'll get to meet. So if we're either your end or you're in Vegas, just make sure you get hold of us. And
that would be great. Wouldn't
that be great? That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it really would.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate all of the work that you're doing on behalf of these animals.
Thank you, and thank you for your work as well.
Thank you. Bye, Sue.
Okay. Bye.
Well, everyone, like I said, it's a very serious topic, and we do cover everything on the show. We cover some crazy fun stuff, and but today we definitely needed to bring this some light and expose this, and I am sure it's going to go the same way as Blackfish. It is. And that's the exciting part, when outlets start picking up on the story and people start sharing on social media and it starts to go worldwide. And it's such a famous place, is the Grand Canyon. it would be hard not to see these stories. So if you were thinking of coming out to a fabulous part of the country, which is so gorgeous, and it can be gorgeous without having to use any kind of pack animals whatsoever. We've had tons of friends do the helicopter thing, haven't we, Jim? And they've just loved it.
We have. Or now that we know, too, that if that's really the flavor you want to go to, you need to go to the national park and you need to not use the tribe.
Yeah, and I will check on the website. I'm sure there's a list of who is reputable. Here's the thing. I've always said this so many times. Sometimes you need to opt for progress, even though it may not be perfection. Because sometimes when you're, for example, say if you were trying to close them down entirely, yeah, you may not get there. You've got to have some progress, some baby steps along the way, and accept them and be thankful for them because they lead to other steps. So sometimes it's better to, like Sue says, improve their welfare and make sure that they are getting the adequate rest and food and, water and actual care, where they're not actually being hurt either by these people. And I did read on their website, where was it? Because part of this abuse is that some of the wranglers, if I read it correctly, take drugs and then they become very abusive on the animals. And so this is so much more than deprivation as well. So it's all of it. And we just can't accept it. And I love the fact that Sue just said enough is enough and I'm doing something about it. So I will put these links up. These links will also be in the show notes as well. Please share this show with as many people as you possibly can, because now you've heard it from Sue's lips exactly what's going on. And I feel the same way that I think Sue feels. She goes, gosh, this is where I live. How is this happening where I live? This is terrible that I live and this is amongst us. And that's how I feel, with dolphins in the desert and tigers in shows. All of it is, you go, how am I living in a city like this? But maybe we're living in a city like this for a reason, which is to help these animals. So I love their work. I think they're fantastic. They're very steady and they just keep it going. And it'll go the way of Blackfish, because once you cut off the demand, you know what? Sometimes you have to rethink what you're doing, and sometimes you don't, and then you go out of business on your own accord, and we don't mind that either. I would not complain about that. Well, gosh, we got to the end of our show already, Jim. Already.
Yes, we have.
Oh, here we go. So, like I always like to say at the end of the show, if you like the show, first of all, please share it. If you're listening on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, whatever, there's a share button. Click and share, especially this show. And remember, you can help an animal in need. Either rescue, adopt, donate, volunteer, share their information, and share the information about the Havasupai horses, most definitely. Rescue your next family member. Replace the word shop with adopt, and be kind to all animals. Big thanks to Sue for being on the show today. So thrilled that we finally got to connect. It's been a good thing. And take a moment to like their page on Facebook and hop over to their website as well and invite your friends to their page. Thanks to Jim for pushing the buttons, even though he's still only got 9 fingers.
Yeah, well, a little easier than last show.
Yeah, he's still got the broken finger. And I would like to thank you, the listeners, for being the biggest and most important part of the show every single week. Today, you've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio, where it is all about pets, people, and pop culture. I'm your host, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs, and always kiss your pets good morning and good night. And I'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Vegas Rock Dog Radio. Pets, people, pop culture.
Visit Vegas Rock Dog Radio for more information. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And subscribe on iTunes and iHeart Radio. And remember, give your fur babies a big kiss from me, Sam, the queen of rock and roll dogs. You must not rely on the information in this broadcast from our hosts as an alternative to medical advice from your veterinarian. If you have any specific questions about a medical matter regarding your pets, you should consult your veterinarian or specialist.